Good morning, all. This is a State Board of Education Academic Standards and Assessments Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, June 8th, 2021 at 9:34 a.m. This is a virtual meeting. Meeting will be live streamed at the State Board's website for public access. We can do introductions, and I guess we can do it by passing the mic. I think that's more efficient, unless you have a better way. Ajit, you're definitely better at this than me.
I would just call out individual names.
Okay, good. I am Eric Clemens, board member. I'll go to Awilda.
Yes. Good morning. My name is Awilda Riasco. I'm a board member.
Good morning. This is Martha Pur. I'm also a board member.
Good morning. Malia Seavey, a board member.
Hi, this is Ajit Gopalakrishnan, Chief Performance Officer. I'm joined here by my assistant, awesome assistant, Chandel Edwards. Hi, Chandel. And I'll pass the microphone to Irene Parisi. Go ahead, Irene.
Yes, and good morning. Irene Parisi, Chief Academic Officer for the department. Should we have everyone else introduce themselves, or when they're presenting, Ajit? Or okay.
I say let's do I think we should do the minutes.
Okay.
And then we can come back to Apex and defined learning.
You got it. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the April 13th, 2021 meeting?
Mm-hmm. Approval? Right.
Is there a motion?
So
Moved by, seconded by Awilda, moved by Malia, correct?
Mm-hmm. Moved by Martha.
Yeah.
Moved by Martha, I'm sorry. And seconded by Awilda.
Yes.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Right.
Any abstentions? Motion passes. Minutes are approved. Ajit.
Great.
So the next item. Yes. Okay.
Yep.
So thank you for the opportunity this morning to share with you as the Academic Standards Committee on the statewide digital curricular partnerships that we have procured and engaged in. Just a little bit of background. If you recall, back in March and April, then Commissioner Cardona had said we need to advance equity. We want to make sure that all students, all teachers have access to high quality learning experiences. And as we continue to be more of teaching and learning at a distance, like what are the right digital tools that we can put in the hands of all learners? And with our first wave of funding or relief funding, we set out to do a competitive RFP because it was a substantial commitment, a substantial amount of work. So we released that RFP in September, and we went through the review process with a team, and both Apex Learning and Defined Learning, who are with me today, rose to the top as the best of breed to put in the hands of all learners statewide at no cost to districts. So this is a significant win for all of us. And I want to thank you as a subcommittee, but also the whole entire board in support of this work and to advance this work. So thank you. As we had gone through the review process and working with both Melissa Hart at Apex Learning and Andy Schaefer from Defined Learning, we are now a team that has built out a project to continue to scale this access statewide. And so that's been present and ongoing since our press release in May. So I'm grateful for their partnership and that these two vendors, these two companies can come together in the same space to work through this with me and put aside any type of thinking around, we're Apex, we're Defined, we're about kids. And we're about advancing access to these digital tools and online curriculum. So if that doesn't warm your heart, I don't know what does. So what I would like to do now is turn it over to Melissa Hart so she can introduce her team and share with you a brief overview. We do have some slides to share with you on Apex Learning. maybe a brief demo, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So if we can keep track of our questions, and we can follow up immediately after, and then we will then pivot to defined learning. So Melissa Hart, please introduce your team and let's share Apex Learning.
Thank you, Irene. We're so excited to be with you this morning, and thank you all. We couldn't be more honored for this partnership alongside Defined Learning to serve the students of Connecticut. So who I have on the phone with me today is Jason Mitchell, the Director of Strategic Initiatives, and he will be presenting an overview as well as a demo. And Deb Stetcher, she is the Manager of Implementation Success. She will charge a lot of the training, the implementation services for many of the districts in Connecticut. So I'm going to turn it over to Jason for the sake of time.
Perfect. Thank you, Melissa. And thank you all for joining us today. Irene, I love that you started by focusing on students. And that's precisely why we're here today, to talk about creating more opportunities for more students. Just a quick agenda item. We're going to look through the Apex overview. I'll start off with a high-level overview. We'll dig down and look at it from a student perspective, teacher perspective, parent, and administrator, just very quickly, but it'll give you a good sense of the entire experience. We'll talk just a little bit about professional development and then end with a Q&A. As Melissa mentioned, you've got a whole team here. So this is your dedicated support team across the state, but just know that we've got another 300 people behind them that are ready, willing, and able to support you in any way that you need. Just a quick overview of Apex, if you're not familiar with it. We've been around for about 25 years. Last year, we had 3.7 million students enrolled in our program, which was just an extraordinary number of students. The good news on that is that we didn't have any downtime in that equation. We have a newly rebuilt platform, and we are strong and ready to go. Just an overview of what Apex does. We push students to their very fullest potential, whether they are at risk, whether they're at promise, whether they're advanced placement, ready to accelerate, or anywhere in between. Our goal is to make sure that our students can choose whatever future it is that they would like. For our partner districts and our state level organizations, our goal is to help you achieve your goals. And you all have been very clear in creating opportunities for more students, and that is precisely what we're here to do. As that funnels down to the districts and the schools and the teachers, just know that we can flex to meet the individual needs of each and every district and school that we support. We partner with organizations that help us in this really important endeavor for supporting students. So just know that your students are going to receive the most research-based instruction, the most effective research-based instruction for supporting students in a blended and virtual environment. We have really strong frameworks for quality instruction. We've been vetted and approved with organizations like Cognia, Quality Matters. We have support of a College Board for our AP courses, NCAA for our student athletes. And just know that the students across the state are going to have access to a full suite of opportunities. So whether it's math or science or social studies or language arts or world languages, advanced placement courses, CTE, technology, anything a student would need for credit accumulation, and giving them the opportunity to march towards graduation. We also support our districts with the opportunity to flex as their situations change. So we design our content to be taught both in a virtual and a blended environment. It's a little bit different when you build content that way. So we've attended to that so we can support teachers and students in that virtual and blended environment. Now, a lot of districts, when they think about digital curriculum, initially about a year ago, they were thinking, we use this for credit recovery, but we'd like to talk about ways that you can leverage these tools to support students across the whole spectrum of their learning. So we might have students who are recovering a credit. We might have students who are accelerating. We might have students who are taking advanced placement. We might have student athletes, students who need test prep or homeschooling options, or those rising ninth graders. When we think about the opportunities that we have to support students, they're endless. And it's great because we have districts across the nation who are doing some really cool, innovative things. And we'll share some of those best practices and learning with you. Some of the important things that we want to attend to when it comes to supporting students in a virtual environment is making sure that everything that we that we engage them with is relevant, that they see the purpose and the application of what they're doing. It's a really strong engagement technique for students to make sure that they stay involved in their learning. In addition to that, we also make them engage with the content. Every 15 to 20 seconds, the students have to do something, see something, say something, move something in order to progress. So this is not just sitting down and watching a video. This is students who are actually learning. They have inquiry based, they're observing, they're making connections, they're doing that higher level thinking all the way through their learning experience. When we think about students that may have diverse needs, so students who might be below proficient readers, students who might be non-native English speakers, we have students who are on IEP and 504, students receiving special services, students like me who are just really terrible in math and really great in language arts. What we've done is make sure that we adhere to the rigor that you all expect out of any content provider that you partner with, but we also provide supports and scaffolds so that every single student can be successful. So we don't water down or make it super easy for students. We keep the rigor high, we keep the expectations high, but we give the students opportunities to be successful in any of the content that they're enrolled in. So this is just a peek of what it looks like when students enroll into an Apex course, or when they log in, they're going to have their student dashboard, and it shows them very quickly what are they enrolled in and how are they progressing. They can see their calendar so that they stay on pace. Any messages from their teacher, they can go to help if they need it. So if they don't remember how to submit their homework assignment, or if they need technical support, it's all right there at their fingertips. When students log into a course, their pathway and progress is clearly indicated. They can see those incomplete circles or completed checks. Navigation's super easy to follow. It's got visual indicators of each unit. They also have their syllabus, which shows each unit, lesson, and activity. No matter what Apex course they're enrolled in, it all looks exactly the same. So they have that consistent user experience. Oops, looks like we have a little hiccup in my presentation there. Let me just reload that real fast. All right, let me go back to where I was. All right, tell me, can you all still see? How about now?
Now we
go.
can do.
Yay, Eureka! Overcoming obstacles every day, right? Perfect. So when we think about that navigation and interface for students, it's intuitive, it's logical, and it's always going to start where they left off. So when we think about students and the instruction that they need, we provide short chunks of instruction so it's easy for them to digest, but we always have opportunities for them to learn that same concept or skill using some type of interactive manipulative. We have reading supports that are embedded, as well as Rediscover, which teaches the prerequisite skills. Academic vocabulary support for those students who might be English learners, giving both visual and audio examples. We also provide students to have guided note-taking. Now, for students who might have struggled with school, this is the opportunity to teach them those metacognitive skills, teach them how to think about what they're looking at and how they make sense of it. Oh, looks like we shut down again. Super. You know what? I'm just going to skip on past that one part. I think you all get a good sense of what it looks like. Give me 1 second to restart it, and we'll go from there. All right. So that's just in a nutshell what it looks like from a student and a teacher perspective, or from a student's perspective. Sorry about that. When teachers log in, teachers see exactly where their students are at any given time. So they see how are they progressing course by course? When was the last time they logged in? How are they doing? Do they need support academically or behaviorally? So when I say that, I mean, I was a terrible math student, but it wasn't because I wasn't trying. It was because I didn't understand the concepts. And the teachers are going to be able to see that. Now, my brother, on the other hand, he just didn't ever complete his work on time. So teachers are going to see that he's not completing his work on time. He's not on pace to finish. Those are two different ways that teachers would intervene with students, and they have the data at their fingertips to show precisely that. We also make sure that all stakeholders are apprised of their child's success. So whether it's a caregiver or a parent or a coach or a mentor, we make sure that everybody who's involved in that student success team knows exactly where that student is with real-time data. In this coaches or parent report, it shows day by day, minute by minute, course by course, with green, yellow, red indicators. Are they on track? Are they doing okay with their work? And are they staying on pace? It also gives them a good sense of what they were supposed to do, what they actually did, and then what's coming up. So one of our consultants likes to call this informed support for our parents, so that they always know how to support the team. And speaking of support, just know that your partner districts, that your schools, your teachers, your communities, they're going to have an implementation success team. Deb Stetcher's part of that. She's taken the lead on this initiative. But we have a whole cadre of implementation success professionals that are here to help each school plan, prepare, implement, and sustain this program. So when we think about that planning, they may have individual goals or different program needs. When we talk about preparation, it's supporting teachers, administrators, counselors, and their families on how this program works, what it should look like, and then how we become better over time. So when we talk about development, it's that ongoing professional development. And then every year at the end of the year, we're going to do a summary report that shows where did we do it really well? Where are there opportunities for improvement? And then our team will work with your team, their schools, and their teachers to make sure that they're supported with exactly what they need when they need it. And when it comes to the data and reporting, just know that you have a lot right at your fingertips. To get started on that professional development support, we actually created a state level website where any of your administrators, teachers, counselors can log in and get the professional development that they like and when they need it. So it's great. There's on-demand options, there's live options, and there's even a whole sequence of professional development in there. So I'm going to apologize for my technical difficulties, but I hope you got a good sense from a student's perspective, what a student will experience, what a teacher will see, and how they can support students with their data, what administrators at the school and district level, as well as the state level, will see, so that when we look at these programs, how can we measure their efficiency and effectiveness? And then finally, just know that you've got professional development that will help make this work for each of you and your students and everybody across the state. Our goal is precisely yours, and that's to create more opportunities, more equity, and more opportunities for students that we serve. So let me pause right there. That was a quick intro, and see if there's any questions that you have.
Jason, thank you for kind of laying this out. Are there any questions from board members?
Yeah, Eric, this is Malia. And so I am, I'm a parent and of high schoolers, and I'm curious, right? So I've lived through the past year of great frustration about, you were talking about sort of parents being informed real time. So there's hopes, dreams, and promises that the previous platforms actually would do that, but it's also required for things to be real time. Actually requires for the teachers themselves to actively input information. So it's real time whenever the teacher actually enters. And there's varying consistency or lack thereof. Right. So my question is, how is this different from what I've experienced, say, with PowerSchool or Google Suites that I've lived this past year?
I'll take that, answer that question. We have a parent report that you can sign up for, and you'll receive it on us every Sunday afternoon. The parent report identifies how much your child has done, the grades, the time that's been spent in assessment or instruction. And although that email comes once a week, there is a link right in that email that if you keep it, on Wednesday, you can click on that link and it refreshes in real time. So throughout the week, you can see exactly what your child has completed and how well they've scored, et cetera. There's also a report that you can have your child print out, an enrollment report. I call it the refrigerator report, but you could put that on your refrigerator or keep it, and it identifies every activity that is due over the course of time. So you could even look at that and then compare it to that report to see what they've completed. If you want something down to that, what does the whole picture look like? And then where is my child? So we can get you signed up to receive those emails. I hope that answers your question.
It does, but I want to pick a little bit more at that because sort of similar things are offered through PowerSchool in terms of notifications or emails from Google Classroom, and but still there's the intermediary that is the teacher that requires them to actually have information updated in order for that real-time information to actually be real-time. So my question is, how much does this address the challenges of teachers as intermediaries to that information?
Yeah.
Well, our tests and our quizzes are scored by the computer, so they are computer scored results. All the teacher has to do is add your email, and you will automatically get this. It doesn't, unless the teacher is adding a grade, you will receive the update as to what your child has completed with no teacher input at all. So it's not depending on a teacher adding a grade. It's not depending on, the input of the teacher. It's depending on, once your email is in there, you automatically get this report on a weekly basis that you can then update. Melissa, did you want to add something or?
Sure. Yeah, I can expand on that a little bit. I think to answer your question, the curriculum is largely computer-based. So students flow through with computer-scored activities, both for quizzes and for tests. There's opportunity for teacher-graded assignments throughout. If that's what you're waiting on, you'll be able to see that, right? So you'll be able to see 2 scores in that parent report: the grade to date, which takes into account overdue activities and things like that are waiting on a score, and also the quality of work. So you also have 2 data points. That quality of work tells you, of the things that are completed and graded, here's how they have scored on those assignments. You'll be able to see if something is overdue and whether that's computer scored, so it's truly overdue, or teacher scored, in which case you're waiting on a teacher. But because of the way that our curriculum is structured in a unit basis, students can flow through each unit until they get to the end of unit exam. Many times districts choose to use a computer scored assessment even for that end of unit exam, but they could choose to use a teacher scored assessment. And that's the point where you would be waiting for a teacher to do that. Does that help answer your question?
It does. It does. I mean, there's still an element, and there probably should be, but is coming out of my year long of
it.
Well, just to alleviate, I know we've all lived that year of it's craziness, but I wanted to make you aware that there's enough in there that is computer scored that will move your student through, that you will be able to track and see their progress and how well they're doing. And one of the other pieces that I really like is for you to be able to click on, you can see the time that your child spent on an activity or within a unit. And you can see that today I spent 45 minutes in instruction and 25 minutes on a quiz or a test. So it even breaks it down to that point. So if your child, you might say, hey, how come you didn't spend more time on your instruction? It's no wonder you didn't pass your quiz the first time or something. So you really can even come in there and question as a parent, more so than even if they were in the school, once you see all the data that's available.
Wilda?
See a couple of questions here. Irene has her virtual hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Irene.
All right, we'll go to Irene, then Wilda. Martha, did you have a question? All right. Go ahead, Irene.
Thank you, Eric. I just wanted to add 2 things that we were looking for based on what we were hearing from the field. So one is the artificial intelligence that we've talked about. So we're saying that it's computer scored, but it's really that emerging technology of artificial intelligence helping with efficiency for teachers. They're asking, can some of the programs have that artificial intelligence to score some of these quizzes, which gives me back some time to interact with students in different ways to get to that real time that you're thinking of, Malia. The other piece is that it comes with the digital curricula. So it takes some of that other planning work out of the equation for teachers. And again, giving them more time back to be with kids. So those were two things we were looking for. It's not the ultimate end solution, but knowing that teachers can rely on artificial intelligence and a very dynamic, standards-aligned curriculum, digital curricula, that they can use to their advantage for efficiency and effectively with confidence, gives them time to interact with students.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Irene. Awilda?
Yes, okay. So, Jason, you mentioned that earlier as you were introducing this Apex. It's been around for 25 years. That's what you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So my question is, as a bilingual parent that I am, okay, and through my education, I'm able to assess this because through my education, I've learned to make sure I take my opportunities when it came to my daughter in high school and K through 12. But let's say I'm not an educated parent who doesn't have the opportunities of this tool and misses out on the child's information because I'm Spanish speaking. And I'm wondering, what are the schools doing to assist parents who are first generation, right? That do not have access to technology at home or do not have this tool accessible that's accessible to them. Because as we know, we do have a growing population of first gens, K through 12, and coming into higher ed where I currently work. So so what is it that's been out there? What opportunities are available for parents that are engaged and care about their kids, but don't have the opportunities like I did?
Well, I think you ask an incredible question, and especially as you talk about creating equitable initiatives and opportunities for the students that we all collectively serve. There's a couple different ways that I'd answer this. I'd say first, when we attend to the design of the curriculum, we use the Universal Design for Learning framework, which is designed specifically to support all students who have a variety of backgrounds. And we work with a lot of first generation students and their families. In fact, the high school that's just literally 2 miles from my door right here, it's a refugee intake center in Dallas. And they use Apex Learning for their students. And it's been incredible. We have students from Ethiopia. We have students from Central and South America, from Mexico, from all across the globe, Somalia. And when we think about how do you create curriculum that supports students and meets them where they are, one thing that we've got an opportunity for students and their families to learn is that all of the content within Apex is it's written in English and they can hear it spoken in English as well, but it also can be translated into their native language and spoken in that native language as well. So it's just from, and forgive me, the demo that I had, it just kept, it was in PowerPoint and it kept crashing in PowerPoint and it missed that portion that's so critical, right? It's that translation tools. And so when, if a student is using something like a Chrome browser, it does it automatically, or they can have the content translated on our side. So there's lots of different ways that we can support students to learn academically, either in their native language or in English or a mixture of both. And Deb and her team, what she'll do is she'll make sure that that every school site and every district, because they all have different circumstances, right? Like,
That's right.
I live in Dallas, and this, we've got like this magnet school, which is a performing arts school that's right next to our refugee intake center. I mean, those are fundamentally different programs. And so when we think about the way that we structure those and set those up, that's exactly what Deb will do with their implementation team. And they'll say, okay, like if we're supporting students or a school that has a high population of EL learners, here's some supports and scaffolds that are built into the content that we'd absolutely recommend that you use. Here's some other different settings that you can apply. So we can actually customize the content to make sure that it's meeting the needs of the students. There's a whole bunch of different things that we can do to make sure that students are supported in that, and their families, so that their families can see all of those same types of reports translated as well.
Jason, I'm hoping that the schools are making a commitment, making a commitment with these diverse parents by bringing them into the schools and training them and providing, the training so that because again, some of them may not have the technology at home, so the school should have a space for them where they can come in and learn this tool, which is going to help them understand their child better academically and their goals for the future in terms of what are their strengths.
I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. And we see some really creative partnerships. We worked with a large urban school district that's not too far from you all. And they were partnering with everybody from boys and girls clubs. They had community partners out there. And we actually trained a lot of people at those community sites where parents had lower levels of devices, so that the students could go and they'd go to Boys and Girls Club, and we had an on-site coordinator who was trained and prepared. So we can get really creative in the way that your districts and schools work with their communities to make sure that every student has the opportunity and access to this. It is not a one-size-fits-all. I mean, we will make it work for each individual school.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, I'm sorry, Irene. Go ahead, please.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to watch the time and allow for Defined Learning to share, as well as more time for questions. So if you want to take one more question, perhaps, or if you had a comment.
I had a quick question, if you didn't mind.
Of course.
Yeah, it's Jason. I think you're the perfect person to be presenting in the midst of a technical glitch. So you were perfect. I have a really quick question that you kind of ran through about the student who had some trouble in school, right? And I wanted to hear just a little bit more about that, just in the interest of time. How can you lift that up a little bit?
Yeah, great. $1 million question right there, right? So when we think about our students who've got a variety of academic readiness, and especially after what we just experienced, the students aren't always ready for the grade level concept or skill. There's a couple things that we built into the platform that will help them. As Irene was talking about, she was talking about that AI approach. We've got assessments that help the student identify their error. So there's like an error analysis and correct for students. So if I'm a student and I answer a question on my quiz, or actually even a non-scored, so it's not going to hurt my score, right? And I answer the question, it's going to show me, if I answer it wrong, where my disconnect was. So it's teaching me, okay, this was the wrong answer, but this is the right answer, and this is why. So if that continues to happen, we'll use the content, and it'll go down, it'll fill the foundational skill, and then represent the grade level concept. So it's adaptive in nature as well, and it's pretty cool stuff. And I think especially coming off the heels of what Malia was describing as a less than ideal experience. Malia, just know that this is a fundamentally different learning experience for students. This is a curated path for students, and it will adapt and flex based on their individual needs. So, Eric, I'm so happy you brought up that, like, how do we support students? There's a variety of supports and scaffolds, and students can access them if they need it, but teachers also see when they need to intervene immediately. So there's teacher intervention, there's student intervention, and there's curriculum intervention.
And all of it, Jay, is very intuitive, it sounds like, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are a couple things I just want to bounce off of that. We have links on each page which remind the students of what do I need to think about when I'm reading this page, whether it's a question or something they need to make sure they know before they scoot on. And it is by page. So it's not like, what did they say in that last page? It's by page. We also have, if they're learning a table or some vocabulary, we have those links right there too that say, just to remind them, this is what a function table is, input, output, etc. Also for the readings, all of the readings are almost are all read to the students, but built in we have these thought bubbles, I call them. You can click on it, might be a passage or a couple sentences that say, this is what this means. So it really stops the student to catch them at that point so they can think through. And then we've added some comprehension questions that stop them as they're reading and ask them questions. And as Jason said, it says, yes, this is correct because, or no, this is not correct because of this is the right answer. So we have all this built in for the students that need that extra support as they work through the course.
Thank you.
One more thing, we also have built-in study guides. I'm sorry. And the study guides really guide that student through that, kids have a hard time taking notes. So it's a whole note-taking process that the kids can work through if needed. I'll stop talking now.
Yeah, thank you. Irene's giving us the hook. Thank you. Thank you, Team Apex.
We'll think about how we can get like demo access for the board members perhaps to see and play around more, right? So Andy Schaefer, I'm going to hand it over to him and his team for Defined Learning so we can learn more about this resource. Thank you, Andy.
Sounds great, Irene. Thanks. Quick sound check. Can everyone hear me okay? All right, fantastic. Well, yes, my name is Andy Schaefer. I'm president of Defined Learning. It is an honor to be here with the subcommittee today. Also a real honor to be selected along with Apex as one of these two companies. I want to applaud the state, for it's a real honor to work with you for providing this many resources for student success, to provide districts and teachers with tools for success. And again, we're just honored to be a part of this and really excited to be here today. So I just wanted to really briefly mention that it's only been a couple weeks in, but Connecticut districts are excited. They are grateful. They have been embracing the new resources. We've had a lot of success, and I know Apex has too. So really excited to hear all of that. Our goal today is to give you an overview of the content, teacher and student tools, accessibility, assessments, et cetera, so you have a decent idea of what we're trying to accomplish out there in the state of Connecticut. A little bit about us before I turn it over to Lisa. Just as an organization, we specialize in project-based learning. Our instructional model is the performance task following the understanding by design model of McTighe and Wiggins. So you'll hear a little bit more about that. Philosophically, we do everything through the lens of a career. So when we're helping reinforce core academic standards, we're really honed in on that relevance piece for kids, answering that question, how will I ever use this in the real world? So really making those connections. So in the interest of time, I'm going to pause and go ahead and turn it over to Lisa, who's going to give you an overview of what we have set up for the state of Connecticut and how you can learn more.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. I just want to double check. Can everybody hear me okay? Great. I did have to turn off my camera. My apologies. I was trying to share my screen while Andy was talking, and my computer does not like the camera and sharing at the same time. So my apologies for that, but I'll be back on camera very soon. So thanks so much for that intro, Andy. And like Andy said, I'd just like to echo, we are just absolutely delighted to be partnering with the state of Connecticut to bring Defined Learning to all of the students and educators there. My name is Lisa Wolf. I'm the Director of Products here at Defined Learning. So a little bit about the partnership that we're entering into. So in terms of what you're getting from Defined Learning, like Andy mentioned, we're very focused on project-based learning, and our entire content library is going to be available to all of the educators for use within their classrooms. So what that means is they have access to hundreds of cross-curricular projects. Defined Learning is an online resource, and I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a little bit. It's available 24/7. It's designed to really engage students in career awareness through that project and problem-based performance tasks. So you'll get to see one of those here in just a little bit. The next thing that everybody's going to have access to in terms of educators is access to PD. So we have self-paced online PD modules featuring J. McTighe. Like Andy mentioned earlier, we do use the Understanding by Design framework by Wiggins and McTighe, and we do feature J. McTighe in our online modules. So those are available for all educators on demand right through their platform, and we're also going to be announcing additional PD opportunities based on geography that will be held virtually or in person if possible, depending on the environment. And finally, all middle and high schoolers will also have access to defined careers if the school or district decides to use this system as well. So that's a comprehensive career exploration and experience system really designed, focused on equity and designed to level the playing field for all students. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we're providing. All of the tasks that I'm going to walk you through one here very quickly, as well as the PD. So let me go ahead and get out of the PowerPoint here. And we're actually going to dig right into the system. So I am right now on the home page of Defined Learning. And so just to kind of give you a very quick overview of what you're seeing here, and this one is already all set up for Connecticut, we are providing summer enrichment performance tests. We've already worked with the Department of Ed for any of the schools who are working through any sort of summer enrichment. We've already made an alignment, and there are 7 particular tasks with each grade level for grades K through 8 that are already selected for summer school. So that is already there and at their fingertips for, like I said, all grades K through 8 that we've already started working on. But you'll see on our homepage, there's a number of sections here. The primary one is going to be looking at search. So we've got all of these different projects. We've got it sorted by all of our different content area, math, science, social studies, language arts, as well as by grade band is how we can search. I do want to highlight too that they can search by standard. So if there's a specific standard that an educator wants to cover, they can certainly search by a particular standard as well. We highlight the new projects, getting started videos, and like I mentioned, all educators have access to our online PD with Jay McTighe. So that is accessible right there on the homepage as well. They can click on those. There's 4 modules that teachers are going to be able to walk through. They each take between 40 to 45 minutes a piece, and they can do it at their own pace to learn all about authenticity, real world projects, assessing student learning, and portfolios. So that is right there too. So I'm a former high school math teacher, actually, so I'm going to walk you through kind of how to search and then what a task looks like. So if I wanted to search for a math topic, I've selected math here. We've got all of these different topics too. I know when I was a teacher, I didn't have all of the standards memorized by their numbers, but I certainly knew what topics I wanted to cover. And then we can break it down by grade band as well. And we click Find Projects. So once we've done this, we're going to have all of the projects that fit these parameters come up. So you're going to see we had 49 projects that were found that were middle school math. And like Andy had mentioned earlier, we're really focused on relevancy and providing these activities and performance tasks through the lens of a career to really make it relevant for students. I know when I was a math teacher, one of the things I got all the time was, Miss Wolf, when am I ever going to use this? We completely eliminate that from the equation here because all of this is right through the lens of a real world situation and career. So I'm just kind of scrolling through here so you can kind of see all of these different, all of the different titles that we've got. We've got all of the different careers that are being focused on. So I'm going to take a look at food truck entrepreneur and walk you through what this task looks like. And each task is going to look the same. They're set up using the same structure and the same 5 steps. So up along the top, you're going to see we've got this green bar that shows all of this is going to be the steps that the teacher sees. So right now I'm showing you what the teacher sees, but we're going to dig into a student here very soon. The project preview, which is what we'll walk through. You'll see the customize, which is everything you see is going to be customizable. They can assign and share it out to either an individual student or to a group. And then, of course, monitoring student progress. You'll see right here, you can view the Spanish version, although I'm going to show you once we get into the student side, we've partnered with ReadSpeaker, and there's multiple language that are available there to translate all of the tools as well as to have it read aloud too. We have a task plan for teachers in case they're brand new to this and they want to know how much time should I be spending on each one of these sections. We've got that right there at the top. So you'll see we're kind of setting the stage with an introduction in terms of what, in this case, what a food truck is and kind of getting that real life and relevancy kind of out in front for the students as well as their driving questions. So we're going to walk through just down from top to bottom here. We've got these 5 steps. We've got setting the stage, which we've got the introduction. We always introduce students with a video, and they've got their hook here. And we're kind of short on time, but I heard we might be able to set you guys up with demo accounts because all of our videos are super cute as well. And so it really kind of gets students and teachers, engaged in what the content is. And this one talks about kind of the origin of the food truck and how to become a food truck entrepreneur. Each step along the way, we have guiding and student check-in questions. So this is how we know students are on track and are working through each one of these different steps. And like I said, all of these are already ready to go out of the box, but if a teacher did want to customize a little bit, they certainly could. Then we have them explore the background. So we're providing them big ideas of what it is that they're going to be learning in this performance task, as well as the essential questions. And then we're going to dig into the GRASP model. So this is going back to that understanding by design, where each performance task is going to have a goal, role, audience, and situation. That's the GRAS. And then that P stands for products. You're going to see that there are anywhere from 4 to 7 products within each one of these particular performance tasks. So we're going to kind of set the stage. We've got the goal, determining the freshest and most economical way to get foods in the hands of the public. Role, we're on this team of entrepreneurs wanting to start food truck business. Our audience is going to be our team. And then we've got more information about the situation and all of the, lots more researches and resources to help students research about food trucks. So you'll see right here, we've got 6 different products. Now, some of those, when I did the search, actually 3 of these products were the ones that actually met the math component there. So if I wanted to go into, for example, monthly budget, each product here is what, the teacher can decide which ones they're going to assign to their students, or maybe they're going to assign 2 or 3 and allow that student that voice and choice. But here you can kind of see we're setting the stage, giving them a little bit more information about their actual thing that they have to create. We have rubrics already created for each one of these different products that are specific. You can see, it's looking at that math content here. We provide teachers with anchors, so examples of what would be on the high performing and the low performing. We've got all of the state standards right here for this particular product that are aligned to it. And then lastly, we've got some research questions too to kind of help students along with their research. So each one of those products is going to be set up using that same structure. Just like step 1, we're going to have a check-in question all along the way. We want to make sure students understand what they're supposed to be doing. They're going to do the research. So we do have these learning objects. So these are things that can either help students review content that they're going to need in order to complete this performance task. Be something new where they're introducing, or it might be an extension, but we've got a series of videos here to help them along if this is something that they need need a little bit of help with. Any additional videos, in this case, we're just reminding them of that initial career video that we started with about the food truck. And then any additional research resources, if teachers wanted to do any sort of additional tasks around this particular performance task. So we've got all of the different reading band levels for these are going to be different constructed response questions. They can open it. You'll see a passage. We've got the stimulus as well as a prompt if they wanted to do some sort of an extension activity around that. You'll see that they can print this off as a PDF or a doc as well, if they wanted to provide hard copies. Again, going to have a checking questions. We've got those for each particular product. Then we get into the design process. So in case students are new to project-based learning, we want to help them out with learning about, brainstorming, thinking through all of their different ideas, analyzing and designing, as well as creating and revising, and getting through all of those steps to kind of help them along in the creation of their particular product that they're creating. So we've got check-ins all along the way, and then finally, they're going to actually create their product, and then they're going to go ahead and submit that in there. So I think I was looking at the budget. So here we've got that, a reminder of what it is, and then they're going to be able to submit and revise that in there. We provide, a chance for them to do a final reflection. What did you learn? What content did you use? What skills did you use? But really helping them to, kind of think through what it was that they had gotten done. We do provide some related content and teacher experiences as well. You'll notice we have the Google Translate widget also built right in here too. So all of this is translatable via that. But I also want to show you, while we have this up, what it looks like from the student perspective as well as kind of the assessment. So I'm going to start by going into a student's portfolio. So as students are working through defined careers, each product that they create is going to be part of their student portfolio. And this is kind of their electronic trapper keeper of all of their artifacts of learning, from year to year as they're building this portfolio. So if we dig into Riley's portfolio, just want to show you what this looks like. So you'll see Riley's portfolio, and this is again, right now we're still in the teacher side, but then I'm going to log in as a student so you can see what the student sees. We've got all of Riley's artifacts here, her project portfolio. So for all of these different things, we can kind of go back, we could check and see what it was that they had submitted. We could see the score on it. In this case, they had to create a flyer. We've got the JPEG right there that they submitted. You could also view the score, which we saw very earlier what the actual the rubric was, and here the teacher had actually had a chance to score it. So we've got all of those different products that are right there at the ready. We're also looking at career cluster exposure. So these are just kind of an added bonus, really, in terms of all of the different careers that a student is being exposed to as they work through defined learning. And then we've also got all of these skills and competency frameworks. And so if the educator is working through, as they're scoring these particular projects, and one of the nice things about PBL is it's really focused on not only the content standards, but we're able to look at the 21st century skills and career relevance as well. You can see where students are in terms of all of these different, problem solving, critical thinking, creativity. We've got 4 different frameworks that are built in here for teachers if they would choose to assess students based on all of this as well. They have that. And then finally, down here at the bottom, we've got the standards. So we've got all of the statewide standards in here. But if we wanted to, take a look at, for example, math standards, this is how Riley's been doing. We can expand that and kind of see within each of those different areas what her scores are on those particular areas. So that's kind of how we're, assessing all of that. But if we went back, I wanted to log in as a student here very quickly. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and log in as Riley. So you can see from the student side what they will see. Oh, my computer's very slow today. Sorry about that. So you're going to notice a lot of the very same terms and some of the same structure that that we just saw in the teacher side. So we've got the student dashboard here. Any of the assigned projects that they've had, we can launch them. They're also right here in the projects tab. So this is where they'll see any of those projects that have been assigned to the student. I'm going to dig into one of them. So this is where the completed project will be. I didn't show you any of the customization that a teacher could do. I just did a very high level overview of the preview, but everything that you saw, the teacher could have edited if they had wanted to. And then the student on their side is going to see this final product. So this is what the student would see. And you're going to notice this tool down here, and this is Read Speaker. So this is the accessibility features that we have in here. All of this, if a student wants to highlight it, they can click listen. This will be read aloud to them. We've got the dictionary tools. And then finally, we've got the translate tools that they're going to be able to, listen to and have it be read to them, translate. Any of that stuff will be done right there for them. But it's the same steps that we saw from the teacher side: set the stage, exploring the background, do the research. It's just that they're going to see the final parts of whatever the teacher had decided to, change or edit, or if they didn't change or edit anything, they'll have just, whatever the final product was. They'll have their portfolio. We just saw that from the student side as well, or the teacher side. It's going to look very similar. They've got all of their different products. And then they're going to have their progress here too. So this is going to be all of the different frameworks. So set up very similarly to how the teacher's side was set up in terms of looking at this. And this is taking just a long time to load. So, but it's the career clusters and all of those different frameworks as well. So I'm going to get out of that because it just does not want to load today.
So Lisa, I really appreciate the demo and actually showing us both sides. So I just want to give time for the board members to ask any questions as you're working through.
Perfect. No, actually, I was trying to go as fast as I could. So I think I've covered everything, that I could in that short amount of time. So yeah, let's go ahead and open it up.
I'll turn it over to Eric to see if there's any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Irene. Thanks. Are there any questions from board members?
Mm-hmm. So Lisa, I'm understand. This is, by the way, this is great. Both the Accel Learning and this one, they're awesome for our kids because everything now it's remotely but can students work in groups?
Absolutely. We really encourage students, and educators to use this in a grouping function. And in the interest of time, I didn't get to how the teachers can assign it out, but they can assign it out either to individual students or they can assign to students in groups right within the system, or it can be teacher-led within the classroom too and have students working in groups. But absolutely, we really want them to be thinking about that collaboration and problem solving together as a group. It's really an excellent tool for that cooperative learning.
Mhm. And I don't want to take, but I was thinking, because I know you clicked on middle school, but and you used the truck as the food truck as an example, right? It was interesting. I was reading some of the notes that were on there, very fascinating. But this could really build on their strength and their skills as they get older. And and like we know, not every kid doesn't want to go to college. They want to do something else. So this could be like a small business for them, and you're giving them preparation at an earlier start.
Yep, absolutely. Working on so many skills that are going to stick with that student through their life. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But thank you. Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the reasons why defined learning was chosen. And you can see the differences between both, but how important they are to put in the hands of our teacher colleagues and students. So this is, again, that highlight with career opportunities. It's part of our conversations, your conversations, as well as the Governor's Workforce Council. So again, why defined learning was chosen to be a partner and provide this type of content, the type of research, the vocabulary out there for our students, and certainly for voice, choice, even that level of engagement on both sides for both Apex and Defined.
Sure. This is Martha, if I can ask a question. Irene, maybe you can lead off. My question is about implementation for both on the district level. How is there going to be guidance, or how does it typically happen to get this rolled out? And especially, I come from the manufacturing world, so I love the career focus, but also making sure that the students are exposed to a wide variety, and that the easiest, most well-known careers are cherry-picked.
So first, just so that you all know, we launched with Fran Rabinowitz through CAPS. We did a superintendent informational webinar that I was facilitating and sharing after the press release, that this is what we were offering and why we were doing this, how we would do this, and what would you get as a result of the partnership. And then during that same week, we had 2 webinars from each Apex and Defined in an AM and PM type of flow, where it was an open call to anyone that would want to participate. And then, as was being shown here, Defined Learning and Apex created a Connecticut dedicated website for how do I enroll my district. So this is present and ongoing. Once they make a connection with each of the resources, then they are provided with a dedicated person from each, from either Defined or Apex, to support their personalized, kind of customized approach to implementing. So I'll pause to see if Andy or Lisa want to touch on that, and then Melissa and Jason can also share how it's going. But this is through the CT Learning Hub as well, and I continually market it and push it out there, and supporting districts' knowledge of how to enroll their districts.
Sure. I'll just jump in briefly, Irene, that one of the things you can do is you can go visit that website, learn.definedlearning.com/CSDE. We'll put that in the chat for you to find out how any district can implement. But we're having methodical planning meetings with each district, helping them, get their teachers enrolled. We're going to be integrating with portals that school districts are currently using to make it as easy as possible for them to implement. And just anecdotally speaking, from the outset, as I mentioned, the response has been really overwhelmingly positive thus far. And just one other item to mention as far as implementation, as far as project-based learning is concerned, we give every type of teacher, math, science, social studies, et cetera, an entry point into PBL. And so that anybody can use PBL. While they're cross-curricular projects in nature, we want to have opportunities for all different types of teachers to use project-based learning for the kids, because the name of the game is engagement, and that's what many districts are really thinking about right now, and PBL is a wonderful way to do that.
Andy, can I jump off on that, Irene, if you don't mind, really quickly? Because it goes to my thought. What I didn't see was the arts as a discipline on your dashboard. Yet, what I loved was it was implicitly laced within all the PBL. So I just wanted to say it. So you kind of teed up my thought.
Well, I appreciate that, Eric. And one thing everyone should be aware of is the summer school projects that every district has access to were specifically chosen to have the arts included in all those as well. So we really have a STEAM focus, if you will. You're going to be covering all these different disciplines, plus bringing in that arts element. So that was a real focus of everything we did.
Perfect. Thanks.
So I've put both of the links, the dedicated Connecticut sites that Apex and Define have stood up for us, in the chat. So I encourage you to look through that. That may answer some of lingering questions. They are also in the CT Learning Hub under the online learning. So I do hope that you see the potential in having these two resources as the Department of Ed and this partnership for the years to come. I think it speaks to a lot of your goals too, student voice and choice, in some ways of making learning personal to the students, as well as it's an opportunity to develop teacher capacity in a new way of using the data or using the dashboards and the resource to talk with students about goals and progress, and really bringing them to the table as a learning partner about, here's where you are and now you're ready for this. So, and that's what we'll continue to do. It's what we as an academic office will continue to do with our teacher colleagues. So again, I hope you see the potential in these two resources and what we're trying to do to advance equity and accelerate learning. So I do want to thank Andy and his team from Define Learning for sharing with us today, as well as Melissa and Jason and your team with Apex. Again, it warms my heart that we're able to do this work in partnership in the same space. So thank you, Eric, and the committee for letting us share these resources with you.
No, that was great. Thank you to both teams. That was fantastic.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
I give you permission if you want to sign off now, except the board members, but Andy and your teams.
Everyone have a great day. Thank you.
Take care, man.
Thank you.
Wonderful
Bye.
week. Thank you all. Bye.
So Eric, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, Irene, thanks for guiding us through that.
Of course. No, really, I do appreciate the opportunity to share with you in more of a dedicated way instead of just a soundbite. So thank you.
That was great. Okay. Next agenda item number 4, Connecticut COVID-19 Education Research Collaborative.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Irene. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pleased to share an update on this Connecticut COVID-19 Education Research Collaborative. This is a new thing that we are setting up in Connecticut as we receive ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3, or ARP funds, and we put out a whole bunch of new projects, whether it be summer enrichment or a whole bunch of these remote learning activities or other initiatives. We are in need for ongoing evaluation support. Our performance office, yes, we have capacity. We do a lot of things. But this is a significant demand on our capacity to conduct additional evaluations of all these new projects. A lot of it is expectations from the federal funds requiring us to have some kind of evaluation, some kind of statement that says that we have used these funds effectively, but also from another standpoint to say that while we've given out all these funds and done all these projects, what can we learn from this? This is a time of great upheaval, but also a time for change and innovation. We're doing lots of new creative things, so we shouldn't just do them. We should also have a pause or at least have a parallel set of efforts where we're continually reflecting on what we're doing to learn from this. So there was a FEMA-funded effort that sort of brought a whole bunch of higher education institutions together in Connecticut, public and private. So we kind of took that, sort of jump-started it, and then are setting up this new collaborative here. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to invite Dr. Morgan Donaldson from the University of Connecticut, who is on this call. Can you see my screen? Yes or no? Oh, okay,
Sorry,
great.
yes, we can see your screen.
Yes.
Okay, great.
And thank you for
so,
sending us the copies too.
Oh, sure, yes, of course. And we will send you the copies of Apex and Define Learning as well, so that you have those as well. But I wanted to sort of put this slideshow together, and so the way we're approaching this is that we have a long-standing partnerships with the University of Connecticut, but we know that this is not just about UConn. This really is about all the other state universities in Connecticut, but also all the private universities in Connecticut. So this collaborative is really bringing interested faculty from across these institutions to help the SDE. So with sort of this preface, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Donaldson to sort of walk us through this.
Oops, sorry. So welcome. I'm glad to join you today. And I think Ajit, so can you move on to the next slide? So this is Ajit and I have been sort of working on this over the last few months. And it's really a unique collaboration across the universities in Connecticut to support the CSDE. And we're envisioning it as a collaboration of researchers who conduct evaluation studies of the projects that are federally funded that the CSDE is launching, as well as a place where additional projects could be nurtured to really investigate critical questions that are confronting districts and schools and communities right now. So next slide. So the idea is that CSD has these funds from the federal government to support activities such as summer enrichment, and this will be the evaluation and research arm to accompany those initiatives. So we are right now actually putting together a team to conduct an evaluation of the summer enrichment programs that are rolling out within a couple weeks. So next slide. So I think you have to do it again. So how is our collaborative organized? We have to say from the get-go that this is something completely new. So we've set up the structure, and we are implementing it as well as learning, and we may tweak it a bit as it evolves. But the whole idea, and this won't change, is that CSDE sets the agenda, identifies projects, and provides the funding. And then the funding is going to flow through UConn. UConn has the capacity and has an established relationship with CSDE. And so the money will flow through UConn. Next. And Ajit and I are the co-leads on this project, but we're working in close connection with the steering committee. And the steering committee includes people from a variety of different universities and colleges. So we have people from Southern, we have people from Yale, we have people from Western, we have people from the University of Hartford, and then we have people from UConn on the steering committee. These are all researchers and professors from those institutions of higher ed. We're deliberately going to have principal investigators who come from a range of higher ed institutions across Connecticut. And then the research teams are also going to be deliberately cross-institutional. These institutions have different foci and different connections to the field. And so we feel that building cross-institutional teams will produce the best evaluation and research that we can envision. So next slide. So these are just the priorities. I think you're likely familiar with these. These are the priorities that guided the funding have guided the funding by CSD for K-12 projects. So, and then CCERC projects will align with these priorities. We're finding that the first two are sort of span a couple of priorities. So we don't think that any project will sit wholly within one of these priorities. More likely, combine a couple. So next slide. We met with researchers last Wednesday or 2 Wednesdays ago to welcome them and explain the collaborative and explain this process of how to get involved. So that was a kickoff event on May 26th. We are expecting to hold periodic meetings where we bring people together again and really brainstorm what are the critical issues, what are the pressing questions, and then those questions go to CSD, who filters through them and then identifies what projects will be funded. So this is how researchers can get involved. They're going to express interest when a call for proposal is circulated, and then we're trying to balance quality and efficiency. So once a project is established and we select, the steering committee will select the team, and then the team will meet and submit a brief proposal, and then CCERC will approve it, and the group will start the research. So next slide. So this just basically gives the overview of the steps in that process. So the topic is established by CSD, the call for proposal is distributed, researchers express their interest, the steering committee meets to put together a research team that's cross-institutional and to identify a principal investigator. Then the research team submits the proposal, the steering committee reviews the proposal and provides feedback, and then the study is approved. And of course, the PI will need to make sure that the study plan is approved by their institution's IRB. And we're already talking to our institutions about how this research, it's not typical research that's sort of can be done on its own timeline. This is envisioned as research that's very applied and is responding to a pressing need. So universities and colleges across the state are going to have to speed up their processes for approval to support this kind of research getting implemented in a timely manner. Next slide. So this is our considerations when the steering committee meets to create teams. They're going to be considering expertise in the topic area among the researchers. Next. They're going to be thinking about the scope and the scale of the research. So we're going to field a team to research lessons learned from remote learning, and that's likely to be a large team because there are many facets to investigate in that area. Cross-institutional as much as possible, PIs from different institutions, and then we would like the researchers, there's a lot of enthusiasm for this kind of collaborative, and we would like researchers to engage in at least one project over the life of CCERC, or have the opportunity to. So the first 2 projects that we are going to field very soon, the first is an evaluation of the summer enrichment programs. So there's been I think $8.6 million that has gone to underwrite summer enrichment programming, and right now AG and I are finalizing the RFP for the researchers to respond to. So we're putting together that team, and they were going to be putting together their research plan in the next couple weeks, so they can get going on studying that summer enrichment programming. And for that one, we're really interested in knowing, is there any effect of the summer enrichment program on students, basically social and emotional and behavioral dimensions. And then also there's going to be a quantitative component, but there also is going to be a rich qualitative component where the researchers do site visits to really document what's going on in these summer enrichment programs, and how are the students responding, how are the adults, the employees of the programs, how are they responding, is there any how are families experiencing this summer enrichment? So we really want to put together a multidimensional study on that. And then the second one that we're launching very soon is a study, kind of a larger study on remote teaching and learning lessons learned. So that will investigate how teachers have responded, how students have responded, how families have responded, and what lessons have we learned, both positive and negative? Are there some things that schools and school districts should continue to do even as they're transitioning back to in-person learning?
And just to add on that last one, that is continuing to evolve. Just yesterday, I think there was another amendment in the legislature about an audit that the CSD is being charged to do that looks at multiple facets of this remote teaching and learning that occurred not just in 2021, but also in 1920, the last 3 months of it. So once that bill settles, and so that will, to some degree, guide our call for proposals in this area as well.
Is that the last slide, Ajit? Yes.
Yeah, it's really just questions and comments. So I'm going to stop my screen share so we can open it up for questions.
Malia, did you have your hand up?
I was going to jump in. I was waiting for my computer to catch up to my. I don't actually have a question. I just wanted to express how very excited I am for this collaborative to come together, for using the incredible intelligence across the state of Connecticut, for this partnership between, the State Department and our higher education institutions. So that's all. Thank you so much for sharing this, and I greatly look forward to the progress that you all make and the learnings you'll get to share with us.
Thank you.
I want to. I have a question, Dr. Morgan or Orji. In terms of the summer enrichment measuring, right? Have you set measuring criteria? Have you? Or you haven't?
Not yet. Okay. Because we've had an initial conversation with the framers of the application and the grant award folks, so we know what the RFP for grantees expected from them. There are 2 types of awards that have been made. One was for innovation grants and another one was for expansion grants. So we know what those expected. So we will have to be somewhat true to what the expected outcomes from the grant were, because that's what the providers accepted the funds, hoping to provide. So, but it definitely seems like it's an enrichment idea. It's not the traditional summer school reading and math, the remediation, refresher. It's not that. It's definitely much more of an enrichment, re-engaging the student emotionally to schooling and to learning, and the word fun was used quite explicitly. So we don't know how we're going to measure that, but that will be up to the researchers, right? So that's why we have a group like this. So we'll put the call out and we'll see what creative ideas we get from the community of researchers out there. So,
got it. Thanks, man. That's why I asked. Yeah, because it's very difficult to measure enrichment.
Right. Yeah, it's going to vary because I think it's the innovation grants are fewer. I think the expansion grants, there are many more of them. I hope I'm not mixing that up, but and so the innovation grants might involve more of an in-depth look because there are far fewer of them, and the dollar amounts for those grants are much bigger. So we'll have to kind of communicate that to the research community. And just to add to what Morgan was saying, when we had that Wednesday kickoff meeting, we had 30 to 40 researchers from across the institutions who came. So it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome.
To have a mechanism to involve researchers. So it's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and people reached out to me who couldn't make it. So there were another 10 plus who couldn't make it and who really want to be involved. And the whole idea of trying to measure fun is it's kind of a puzzle. Like from a research perspective, it's kind of an interesting puzzle. And I think people they recognize the value of the summer enrichment, that it's not focused on academics kind of in the moment, and they're really intrigued with wanting, with studying it.
That's great.
Yeah. Right. And it's always good. I know, Eric, you brought up a good point, because I'm also into assessment. It's always good to see a different side of this than academics, because our kids are missing that. They need to know, we talked about engagement early, all these technological tools that are helping them. But what about the engagement pace? Where's their passion? Which, again, because a lot of our kids through this pandemic have lost that sense of socializing. So this is where, like Malia said, I would be curious to see what the outcomes are, and see if maybe out of that we can come up with maybe some solid projects that we can try to help with all this learning recovery, but also the social, emotional, and the social piece that our young kids K through 12 are missing out. So thank you.
Yeah, and these two projects are just the start, right? So you heard about Apex Learning and Defined Learning. There is a potential project in there that what is the impact of these types of virtual learning options for students. So that could be an inquiry into itself. Maybe last meeting or a couple of meetings ago, you heard about the DESA, the Devereaux Student Strengths Assessment. And so we're partnering with them to conduct research. And so that could be an avenue where we involve a group. So there are several topics that are coming up where we'll be able to go to the well, so to speak, and put out a call and get faculty who specialize in this work, not just at one institution, but across all institutions, and really try to make these teams cross institution, which will be interesting too, to get a professor from Yale who works in SEL working with a professor from Central who also works in SEL. Let's see if we can get them to collaborate.
That's great.
I have a question, Eric. Morgan, when you were talking, you had described that there will be the need for institutions to also move faster, right, in terms of the bureaucratic process of approval. Is there signs that will happen, or is it sort of a wait to find out, in operationalizing?
So I think, I could answer that either way. I think right now at UConn, we've been in touch with our Office of Sponsored Projects. So this is the office that handles any grant funding that comes in. And they have said that they're going to move faster. And I have a meeting scheduled with our institutional review board, which is the human subject side, for this week. And I know that they move fast when they're working on federal grants. So I'm going to make the case that it's as important as, probably more important than a federal grant, because it's such a novel idea, and the success of the kind of the first set of projects is so important for the institutions and for the higher ed institutions, but as well as CSD and also the K-12 schools that everybody wins if we move fast. So I'm hopeful that at UConn we can move much faster than usual. And then the question will become, when the PIs are selected in these different institutions, can they move their institutions fast too? And we said on May 26th, start having those conversations and tell people this is not a typical kind of grant where you can kind of go at a leisurely pace. You have to really move things forward fast, because these are pressing questions and we need the answers quickly.
Yeah. I'm wondering if in the response to the RFPs, would you all consider sort of asking for there to be some sort of agreement, so to speak, from the institutional processes side in terms of IRB and their own state-sponsored offices, that they will be able to do that?
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, we haven't discussed that, but that's a very good idea. I think we could work on that as well.
So I would imagine this is
snooze, you lose, right? If you snooze and you take too long, the train's going to keep moving because the work needs to happen.
So I would imagine this is pioneering work in this country, correct? Like this, you guys are setting a precedent.
Yeah, I'm not sure of such a collaborative. We'll find out. I mean, there are centers of research in other states where they have kind of created a center within an institution and staffed it. This one we're not staffing folks as much as a sort of a collaborative where we we're just having the mechanism to tap on folks quickly and have them respond as quickly as possible. So it's more of a clearinghouse collaborative mechanism. I mean, there's still contracting work to be done and data sharing. I mean, there's lots of work to do, but I think the structure is it's still, I mean, proof is still in the pudding. We still have to wait to see how this all works out. But the agency is excited. SDE is excited about this. So
very exciting. Any more questions? No? All right. It is 10:58.
Our next meeting is September 14th, I think.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday, September 14th. So just like before, we will circulate the minutes from this meeting in draft form for posting online. And if you have any topics for suggested topics for the September meeting, please let Chairman Clemens know so that he and I can, and Irene, we can kind of coordinate to figure out what you want to hear at the next meeting.
Great job. It was good to be with y'all today.
Thank you.
Thank
Really,
you. Great
really great.
presentation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Irene, thanks for pushing.
Yeah.
Yes, very good. I like
All right.
that. Have a good
me
day.
too. Motion to adjourn.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.